Hello and welcome to another exciting week here of questioning everything. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the history that has stopped. The history that has stopped and has been long since dead and buried. So grateful for all those of you tuning in live here late at night. Happy that you guys are staying up, questioning everything with me. So, Orwell, if you've ever read the book 1984, it wasn't a work of fiction. It was a warning. He told you exactly what was going to happen, exactly what has been happening. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book has been rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right. So what does that mean exactly? This means that what they are doing, you are witnessing it firsthand with the digitization of everything, the wide prevalence of digital media. Behold, they want you to own nothing. Everything is a subscription service now. And the same thing is with our history. They digitize, alter, erase, falsify, rewrite, and then what little bit gets left, they hang up for us to collect, like bits and pieces. So I want to go over a couple of those examples here, some key examples, how everything we have been taught, we really have to unlearn here. Everything that they teach us is through a carefully filtered, scripted lens. Some of the biggest events in our history, from the moon landing to Hiroshima, Nagasaki, are all nothing more than just stages of this history, this world stage. Hey, Nephilim Hunter, I appreciate you trying to stay awake for us here. I understand if you guys can't stay up all night, that's perfectly all right. We have all of our episodes on our Spotify page for free, YouTube as well, all of that, so you can catch the show even if you don't tune in live. But I appreciate all of you guys that do nonetheless. Hello everyone in the chat already. So one of the first things I want to talk about here in terms of how they actively work on erasing and segregating our history is Egypt. Not a huge dive on Egypt today, but I more want to talk about just the archaeological process there to get permits, to get any type of digs or anything like that. The Egypt, goes a lot deeper, and they don't want you to know about that. Same with all these pyramid sites all over the world. Most of them, and we'll touch on one other one here after Egypt, are under strict government surveillance, under strict restriction for any archaeological work, any excavation sites, anything like that. Essentially, you can't dig anywhere. And that's true for one of the most famous spots in the sand, Egypt. So essentially, getting a permit to dig anywhere in Egypt anymore is next to impossible. All excavation, scanning, and research in Egypt is controlled by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. Every single project requires a permit that is signed by the minister or high-level committee. Foreign teams must partner with an Egyptian university or institution. So even if you get a permit, you have to be under strict supervision by the Egyptian government the whole entire time. The reasons why they give that is they want to prevent looting, projects, fragile sites from damage, tourism and climate, etc., and the national heritage. The reality is it actually takes about 2 to 5 years on average to get a permit. Many applications are rejected without any explanation given, or just any response in general. And here's just a couple examples here. I don't know if you guys have heard about the latest discovery underneath the pyramids. A LiDAR scan was conducted, and the caverns go well over a mile down these chambers. They look like energy generating chambers. And a lot of these pyramids go a lot deeper than they say. It's just parts of anywhere you would look in Egypt here. It's just tons of buried ruins still underneath the sands. However, the Egyptian government allows very little to no access. If you look at the pyramids from afar, even, you can tell this is the pyramids on the outside of the city, Cairo. You can tell it just sits on a big, giant, like, false limestone plateau. You can only imagine how much deeper those pyramids go than what you actually see here. It is literally just a facade they put on around the pyramids, probably because they don't want to see what's beneath these layers. And much like if you remember my Grand Canyon video, all of these chambers, all of these caverns that people are finding underneath the ground, several meters under the ground, like this one here, it's gated up and even blocked off from any access or any viewings of it. Yet they find so much of Egypt buried right under the sands. Many of the sensitive areas, like the Sphinx enclosure, the underground chambers under Giza, areas around the Osiris shaft, the Valley of the Kings, are almost impossible for any independent researchers, let alone the wait of 2 to 5 years for a permit. It's next to impossible to get any type of independent research done in those areas. All of the research is strictly controlled by academia and the Egyptian government. And that's, again, done very clearly because there is so much hidden under just the sands of Egypt alone that they don't want you to know about. Another place that would completely shatter the mainstream narrative are the pyramids of Bosnia. I don't know if you guys are aware of the pyramids of Bosnia, but they're actually about twice the size of the Egyptian pyramids. And they have that same pyramid complex layout, just like we've seen in the pyramids of in the Grand Canyon and many other pyramid sites. They're laid out the exact alignment to Orion. Let me pull this up here for you guys. But in Bosnia, they just outright refuse to admit that these are pyramids, when they clearly are. Here, Just a moment. Sorry, guys. My computer's being a little sluggish. I'll wait for some visuals here of that. So they are called the Visoko Hills officially, were declared a national monument by the Bosnian government in 2006. And since then, all archaeological work must be approved by the Federal Ministry of Cultural and Sports. The Federal Ministry of Culture and Sports and the Commission for the Preservation of National Monuments. I'm just waiting for these pyramids to pull up here, guys. Sorry, it's being a little sluggish. Here we go. Okay. Here are the pyramids of Bosnia. This is an older photo of them. You can see very clearly pyramids. Some of the excavation work that has been done on the pyramid sites, you can see stone pathways. This is up on the pyramid. There's three main pyramids here in the complex. This is the Pyramid of Sun, I believe. Here's a photo of it in present day. One of the massive ones. This is a Pyramid of Sun. It's 722 feet high. By comparison, the Pyramid of Sun in Mexico is 210 feet high. And the Great Pyramids in Egypt come in at about 450 feet high. Okay. So, Laura, you said in the Victorian times it was popular to own a mummy. I've never heard that one. That's pretty interesting, actually. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to dig into that one there. What about the buried pyramids in China, larger than Egypt too? Yes, Michael, absolutely. Great point here. Didn't bring up the Great Pyramids of China yet here. I'm actually working on doing a whole episode dedicated to the pyramids of China because there are like reportedly hundreds of pyramid sites in China. And similar to what the Bosnian government, the Egyptian government does, restricts any type of work, but they go a step further. They're actually like actively covering them up with mounds of dirt and planting trees on top of them. So we'll talk all about the Egyptian or the Chinese pyramids because there are dozens of them, at least dozens of them, possibly even hundreds. So the Bosnian pyramids, very interesting because there are tours that go there of the underground caverns in the Bosnian pyramids, and there are numerous amounts of them. Numerous. However, here's a kind of size comparison. These are the three main pyramid complexes in Bosnia. You got the Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of Earth, the Pyramid of Sun, and that Orion layout, just like the Egyptian pyramids. But since the mid-2000s, like 2008, 2010, they have effectively banned all large-scale independent excavations of the site. They say because it's protecting the natural geological heritage. The government officially doesn't recognize it as a pyramid. So they're protecting the geological heritage and preventing pseudo-archaeology that damages the sites. UNESCO and the European Association of Archaeologists issued strong statements calling the entire project pseudoscience and warned against any official recognition. So you have the mainstream gatekeepers, once again, warning of anyone. I mean, look at what they've done to Graham Hancock. Can't even be mentioned in certain archaeological circles. But anyone that talks about them as anything other than just hills will be blacklisted from official channels, like UNESCO and stuff. So in 2005 to 2006, they had a major dig project there and found what he claims to be concrete blocks, underground tunnels, as you see here, and artificial terraces. Here's mapping kind of what they did in 2005, 2006. But by 2008, the government stepped in and permits for big excavation were denied and heavily restricted and stopped any further big excavation projects of the site. Here's some of the terraces, the stone step terraces that they found during those digs in 2005, 2006. But that has been all the last really big digs from the site. As you can see, this is the pyramids in Mexico. How in 1900, before they dug it up, it looked just like an average hill. I believe most of the hills and mountainsides and cliffs are anything but that, as we've talked about before. But it's especially these Bosnian pyramids, it's clear that they're pyramid sites. Nature does not make that perfect of angles. Just look at it. It's clearly a buried pyramid, a massive buried pyramid, twice the size of the pyramids of Giza. Again, if it was to get out, it would completely erase the narrative that they teach us in history, undeniably so. So even though it is so massive and right in our faces, nothing we can do will ever make the mainstream acknowledge that it's actually a pyramid. And if you try and dig around there, try and poke around there, you will be very heavily restricted. Exactly right, Michael. Right angles aren't natural. Might have somewhat of a semi-right angle or semi-straight line, but you're not going to have perfectly symmetric angles in a pyramid shape going down like that. It's sad because so much was looted early on, and private collectors have things we will never know about. Oh, yes, you're absolutely right, Lori. With both the Egyptian pyramids and probably the Bosnian pyramids, that's what a lot of the inheritors did right after the reset. They dug up all the old world. They came out with armed guards to all these big sites like Rome and dug out all of the old world technology, dug out all the good stuff, and then blocked it off from any actual independent researcher excavations. So the Bosnian pyramids, the Egyptian pyramids, are just one and the same. There's hundreds and hundreds of pyramid sites all over the world, so many in America alone. But they refuse access, just like the pyramids in the Grand Canyon, like the Egyptian sites there. They say, oh, the Kincaid story was a fabrication. I read you guys that whole fabrication. Kincaid, Jordan, all had ties and were officials with the Smithsonian. They all came, took crates and crates of Egyptian relics, remains to the Smithsonian, and it was never seen from again. They said that was just like a story to hype up tourism. While in that same story, it tells people if you go to that site, you will be turned away as it's under armed U.S. government guard, even in the 1900s. It's all scripted. That's the point of this episode here. Tonight's episode, we're just going through a couple periods, a couple different genres of history from ancient Egypt, Bosnia to modern times, where they are just actively gaslighting us, actively rewriting, retelling what's right in our face if they're not just outright scripting it, staging it. It may be asked if Antarctica is legit first. Antarctica is one of the biggest lock and key guarded sites there. Indoctrinated. There is just so much in Antarctica. I mean, Bird said there's lands beyond the ice, lush green lands with tons of natural resources, while we're going to war nonstop for oil and other resources. There is vast unamounts of unlimited amounts of resources in places like Antarctica, but we'll never be allowed access to see it for ourselves so they can control and corner the market. Not to mention free energy. We don't even need resources like coal, oil, stuff like that. If they would just allow us to touch into the ether network from the air above, just like Tesla wanted to. If it's even a real place. Antarctica, I mean, the continent, I don't think Antarctica is a real place. I mean, you can't go there and you can't visit it. All you can do is visit, like, the peninsula of it. Just the tiny, tiny little tip. But there are pyramids in Antarctica. There's tons of pyramids that have been seen. You can see some on Google Earth. You can see the same kind of pyramid complex formation, just like the Egyptian pyramids, the Bosnian pyramids. Alice, you said, I live mainly on a flat desert. I noticed there are mounds of earth that stick up looking like possible pyramids. The closest is 5 miles away from house. There's clumps of them. Yeah, I believe a lot of areas, like I've seen some pyramids in Washington State, clear as day pyramids. Um, they're all over America. Kansas, Kentucky, uh, just so many pyramids. They call a lot of them like earthworks or just like symmetric looking hills. But no, they're clear pyramids. Pyramid Lake in California, those are buried and melted pyramids. Very, very much so. So what are the wars here? That's another thing I wanted to kind of show you guys a little bit about. What are these wars really about? World War I, World War II, the Civil War, all of the wars really. The ones that we are taught about in our history class. What are they really about? They are about the most recent ones. World War II, World War I, the Civil War was about destroying the remnants of the old world, destroying traces of all of that beautiful old world architecture in large groups. Let me show you a little bit about Dresden, Germany. Before the war in the World War, before World War II. And Dresden is a very hotly discussed area because it was basically firebombed by the Allies towards the end of World War II. It was really a civilian center. It was not a military hotspot at all. In fact, the military targets of Dresden, like the ammunitions plant and the rail yards, were left untouched. What wasn't left untouched, however, was the civilian centers, the beautiful architecture of the old world. Let me show you a little bit here of what Dresden looked like before World War II. And this is like it for a lot of old world cities in Europe. They all got the Dresden treatment. But Dresden's one of the most, one of the beautiful ones that got unnecessarily bombed. I just want to show you guys a little bit through this. I'm not going to play the full 12 minutes, obviously. Just play a couple minutes of it. Let's look at how beautiful and massive all of those structures were, how old they were. They look like they've been there for thousands and thousands of years. Look at that. Mostly everything you see here in this picture is all civilian center, and all of it was destroyed. Yeah, let's pause it right here on that statue because I'll show you a little before and after real quick here. So that was that statue that you guys just seen right there in the corner. And this is what it looks like now. Or that's what it looks like after World War II. After the Allied bombings that killed thousands and thousands of civilians unnecessarily there, whether they were the good guys or bad guys or not, there's no need for that type of bombing in a civilian center, except to erase so much of the history. I mean, if you look at the World War II photos after the bombings compared to what these great fires look like, they're one and the same. They're exactly one and the same here. Let me get back. I want to show you a little bit more of that video just so you guys can really see how beautiful Old World Dresden was. Okay. That was, again, that statue you just saw there in that picture. Make it go full screen for you. Mostly all of this here is erased. Giant architecture with such massive proportions for the humans that occupy them. That was all big concentration of those areas in World War II. And I believe that is why they needed to let them go. Like, leaving them up would have had far too much questions than there already is. And not to mention just sending a strong message to the German people. They needed them defeated. They needed them humiliated. They once proud people. Everything they knew destroyed. Okay. So just a few examples here. And now let me show you the after effect of the Allied bombing, a little video of it from the mail.uk here. So you can kind of see the massive amount of destruction here. This was right after. And again, if they were bombing it for any strategic military value, why would you go to the civilian population center and firebomb it? The civilians that were in the bomb shelters, the ones that made it to the shelters because they started bombing it with no warning, in the dead of night, just came out of nowhere. The fires above were so hot, it heated the insides of the chambers where everybody pretty much turned to soup in these chambers. These fallout shelters. That's just a little bit of what the Dresden people experienced after the Allied bombing. And there are many, many sites like that in Europe. I want to do a whole video on the sites in Europe, the ones that were firebombed, just completely just demolished. War used to be fought out in open fields, and World War II really, a little bit World War I, but World War II really changed that whole narrative, and they were fought in the insides of these city centers, right in the hearts of these beautiful old world cities. And much like I said in these great fire videos, when you have that much destruction, all that fire, all those documents, all those historical documents, those city records were all lost. Easiest way to erase large portions of history is to burn the record source. And that's exactly what they did. So, another thing I want to show you guys and talk about is Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Were those really just were those really nuked? Were the nukes actually what they tell us they were? Because as we've been told, a nuclear bomb releases tons of fire, devastation, explosion within a wide radius. Everything is flattened, leveled, burned to the ground. The real killer, though, with the nuclear bombs is the radiation, right? The fallout from the radiation. Think back to the Chernobyl meltdown of the reactors. Them telling us, even to this day, that Chernobyl is completely uninhabitable. Yet let's take a look at Nagasaki, Hiroshima. This was in August 10th. The first photo I want to show you here. Give me a moment to have that pull up for you guys. So the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in August 6th of 1945, right? And this is what they tell us Hiroshima looks like a mere 4 days later. Hang on just a moment, guys. It's taking a few moments for that to pull up. And while I'm waiting for this to pull up, guys, just keep your questions coming here. I'll get to some of them in a moment. I just kind of want to show you Hiroshima first before I get too off topic. Okay, so this is Hiroshima, August 10th, 1945, 4 days after the nuclear bomb that was dropped on it. How are these streets perfectly cleared in 4 days? How are there people walking around in a nuclear fallout site? This whole area should be heavily irradiated. How are there still wooden trees and wooden utility poles here in a site where a nuclear bomb went off? Alice says, I got lots of pop-up ads. That's a good sign YouTube likes you. Yeah, Alice, actually, well, they didn't like me for a while. They demonetized me a couple months back, even though I wasn't actively making content on YouTube for a while. I hadn't made like any long-term or long-form videos on YouTube for like probably half a year since my daughter was born. And they just like demonetized me for some reason. So it was actually about a month and a half into that 3-month ban that I started my podcast. So I wasn't actually monetized at all on YouTube or anything like that doing this. And they just now randomly let me go back into the TikTok or the YouTube creators program. So they run ads on the beginning and end of the videos. So that's all pre-done with YouTube and stuff now. So it looks like I'm out of the doghouse at least. Lost Creek says, was an atomic bomb, not a nuclear bomb. There's a difference, just like a thermobaric or hydrogen. Yeah, they say it was released into the air. But where did all the nuclear fallout go? Lost Creek. That is a good point. It was an atomic bomb, not a nuclear bomb. And there is a difference, but they say that it detonated like certain height in the air, but still what you should see is indiscriminate destruction. You shouldn't see cleared roads. Did I see that King sent me a super chat? No, I did not actually. I have not been actually looking for those. King, thank you so much for that super chat here. Let me scroll up to that. I am very, very sorry I missed that. Yeah, I haven't had any of that stuff on or anything yet, so I have not, it doesn't show it on here, actually. On this program that I stream, no, King, it did not show that it's on there. I'll see it on my YouTube, though, when I go and edit all these videos, though. But, King, thank you so much for that super chat here. I can't quite see what it said, but thank you nonetheless. Yeah, I'm streaming on a third-party program, Riverside here. You guys it's my one and only sponsor. So like Korg coordinates all the messages to one chat section, like it from like YouTube, Facebook, X, a couple other places I stream on. It's supposed to show them all. And I've noticed though, once I go back and do my edits after the show, I notice that a lot of them kind of get left out. But I do go back and I read all the Facebook, the YouTube ones that I missed. So if I miss you guys for whatever reason, if I miss any of those super chats or anything like that, just know that I am very appreciative. I'll have to probably figure out a different method here. Oh, King, thank you so very much. $50 towards a new computer. Yeah. So I'm going to have to definitely update the Riverside program so I can actually see this here. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing my super chats pop up, guys. But I will see them after the show if I miss any of them. Thank you so much, King. I will definitely save that to a new computer. I got a couple other great donations from you guys as well over the last couple weeks towards that as well. I'm getting a pot of collection. I think I have maybe, like say, $250 saved up so far from you guys, and it's getting close. It's getting close. I'll probably kick in and match the rest of it once I get closer, so I can finally get off of this Fred Flintstone machine. Because it's not just the badness of the lives that really kind of mess with me here. It's the editing process. Like, I'm staying up till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning editing these videos after I get done with the live and posting them all to my other platforms. And it just takes that long with my computer. It crashes multiple times and stuff. I do have actually a second monitor, Michael. Thank you. Yeah, I do have a second monitor. The problem is it's an archaic system. It's on Windows 10, and it's like just below the threshold for the update requirement. And because of that, all the updates from Windows 10 have ceased. Windows has ceased support for Windows 10 or making any new security updates and stuff since about, I don't know, about like 6, 7, 8 months ago. And on top of that, my graphics card can't update anymore because it's on Windows 10. At least it won't do it through NVIDIA. So it's a bunch of like, it's an old computer. It needs to get updated. But thank you very, very much, King. I greatly appreciate that, sir. Yeah, so let's get back to this nuclear war here. We had 2 bombs that went off in the 1945. We had Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I just want to show you guys a couple pictures of them. And then we'll take a quick break, take a couple more of your questions, and then we'll go to a testing site video. This is in Nagasaki. This is in Nagasaki right afterwards as well. You see a completely unscathed wooden utility pole. I understand if, you might see some like wooden utility poles slightly scorched but are still standing. That's, okay, maybe to be expected. Even though it's a massive nuclear bomb that just detonates and supposed to wipe everything out. Sorry, not nuclear bomb, atomic bomb. There's, as you corrected me earlier. But look at these sites. They're not irradiated at all. You should be not able to go to them for years and years, just like Chernobyl. This is Hiroshima. I mean, look at these utility poles still standing. Little bit of damage from that bomb, but was Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombed? Yeah, absolutely. But was it bombed by a nuke? I highly doubt it. I don't think nukes are real, to be honest with you. I think that's part of the whole fakery they use in this system to control us, to keep us scared, to keep us worried that we're always going to be under the threat of nuclear annihilation. Alice, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alice. I greatly appreciate you guys. You guys rock. Certainly why I say this program is just as much your guys' as it is mine. Alice, yes. Yes, Lori, I seen that here. I did see that one coming in. Thank you guys so, so very much. Yeah, I can't thank you guys enough. It's been a very very amazing episode already from you guys. You guys are why I've been doing this for years, each and every day, pretty much 7 days a week, nonstop, and why I'll always continue doing it. Appreciate that, guys, so much. I mean, look at this. Trees and utility poles stood. The building sites around them, though, are completely leveled. That's just like the Great Fire stories. I could show you this picture and say this was a Great Fire of San Diego or Chicago or something, and you guys could not tell me the difference. This does not look like a nuclear bomb went off here. All the trees should be flattened and leveled, maybe seeing one or two sticking out. This was a firebombing. Here's a building unscathed. Trees around it scorched, but building unscathed. These towers are slightly knocked over. No signs of any scorching or anything like that. The trees right next to them over there, completely scorched. That's firebombing. That's carpet bombing. Nuclear plants must be near or on the shores of water because it's a factory for boiling water to split atoms and create steam into energy. Yes, that's absolutely right, Scott. Yeah. Grew up in the Rockford area in Illinois, Byron nuclear plant. Yeah, that's exactly right. Right off the Rock River. They have to be built on massive sites of water because they're basically just water turbine plants. Let's see here, a couple more of them. Yeah, this was right after Hiroshima as well. The site where you see all these utility poles, all these wooden poles completely still standing. But again, just like the Great Fire stories, all the Great Fire pictures we've seen, completely flattened stonework with very little scorching. Like, and who cleaned all of these streets right afterwards? This was again in August 10th, so 4 days after that. Hey, Lori, I really, really appreciate that. Yes, I love Tartaria. Tartaria is one of my pretty much starting topics I've ever started talking about here. Back in probably like 2021, it's been 2022 maybe. My first TikTok account was talking about Tartaria, and I never expected anyone to give it a watch. And you guys have been here for all of it, and it's been amazing. So yeah, how are people walking around, even if this is an air detonated atomic bomb? They're still, like I said, in the nuclear fallout site, there shouldn't be anyone walking around. There should be a heavily irradiated zone like Chernobyl. Like Chernobyl wasn't a nuclear bomb, it was a meltdown at the plant. Yet, still to this day, the whole area is off limits. Yet, a mere 4 days later, they're walking on cleared streets like nothing happened. Make it make sense. There's a beautiful Roman Catholic church that was bombed out in Hiroshima. I mean, just look at it. It's so not a nuclear bomb site, not like what we would think. This was near the epicenter, actually, of Hiroshima. Okay, people are just standing around what should be heavily irradiated zone. I know there's a difference, atomic versus nuclear decay rate, Lost Creek, but it's still 4 days after that. 4 days after a supposed nuclear bomb site went off. And surprisingly enough, Hiroshima and Nagasaki were actually one of the least destroyed sites due to Allied bombs, including the droppings of these atomic bombs. The least destroyed and the least loss of life, one of the least. They weren't even like in the top, like 10, I believe, in Japan from the bombings, like compared to Tokyo and some of the other cities, Osaka. And those were all said to be done by traditional bombs. They just made these be out to be a big giant scene. And we'll show here after the quick break we'll take in a minute. I'll show you what the first nuclear test footage looks like. And you can tell me if you think they're fake or real. All right, so let me take a quick 30-second sponsor break. We'll be right back with you guys here. Take more of your guys' questions, go a little bit more into the cover up of our history, including some of the whited out skies. We'll be right back with you. A quick shout out to this program's sponsor, Riverside. If these live shows sound smooth and clear, that's Riverside making it happen. Killer audio, zero hassle, and it works every time. Even on long nights like tonight. I've tried a bunch. This is the one that actually delivers. Want to start your own podcast? You should totally do it. Make your voice heard. Grab my link in the bio or show notes. It's an affiliate link, helps support the show, costs you nothing. Thanks for listening. Now back to the mysteries. All right, we are back here. So let me show you the first official nuclear test footage here from 1955. Let me tell you, I'll just kind of show you guys it in its entirety first, and then let me know what you think about it. If you think it's real, if you notice any oddities, and we'll chat about it after it gets played. Just waiting for it to load up here, folks. And keep your questions and comments coming in the meantime. We'll get to them here shortly. Okay. I don't think there's any sound on this one. No, there's no sound on this. This was in 1955 in Nevada, the nuclear test footage here. I'm going to kind of speed up a little bit so you can actually see. So they basically, that's if you guys have ever played Call of Duty, this is where they made the nuke town from. Off of the supposed town they built in the middle of Nevada and dropped a bomb on. Very staged looking event, much like all the rockets that they launch. Plenty of press and publicity. Now, do you guys notice something that's very odd here in this footage? Okay. Yes, the cameras. How are they? This is a 1955, guys. And you've seen cameras here. Let me back that up. Right inside the actual house where little Billy and Jimmy were just doing their math homework before the commies blew them away. Super tough cameras indeed, King. Yes, absolutely. So if this was a nuclear test footage, how are they recovering this film? How is this film even being recorded? Are models. They got a bunch of people watching out in the middle of the desert. They drop a bunch of TNT, and they call it a nuclear bomb. Whole family get taken out. I mean, I used to play little model train sets when I was a kid with my dad, and we used to build like little tanks just like this one here on the screen. Like little tanks for the tankers. That they look. Yep. So that is Nuketown. And of course, they're walking around right afterwards, right after it blew up. That's the pile here, but they're not burned up, they're not melted, they're not incinerated, nothing. That, if it's radiation, they would have all been sick and dying like almost immediately if it was that much radiation there, right after a bomb went off. Okay. So again, it's all just what we see in the media, what we see in our textbooks. It's all just on a big set stage, the world stage, all played by actors. I don't know if you guys have seen that I mean, the actors are played by actors. I don't know if you've seen that whole Jim Carrey fiasco going on this last week. I honestly believe they replaced the guy. I mean, if you've seen some pictures, I'll see if I can get some pulled up here for you guys, because it's laughable. They did such a bad job replacing this guy that they had to come out and say, oh, it was just somebody else playing him in a mask all along, even though we already knew it. Yeah, so this was, yeah, right here. So this was the new Jim Carrey, and this was the old Jim Carrey. And he looked different, he didn't sound the same, nothing. So many of these people are being played by actors that are actors. The world stage, if you don't make it big unless you play on the world stage. The world is a stage and all roads lead to Rome. Patrick, absolutely right. Absolutely right, Patrick. Well said. And it's just like Orwell said in 1984. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book has been rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. Minute by minute, history has stopped. And as the title of the episode says as well, real history has ceased a long time ago. All we're seeing, all we're being told is just carefully crafted propaganda to sell you a narrative. Whether it's a narrative of fear, a narrative of we have to go to war with this and this because, oh, they have nuclear weapons, or they're trying to get nuclear weapons, when all that is just a boogeyman thing. It's the same thing with what got us into the Iraq war. And it's the same thing that got us into this brand new war in the Middle East. It's just the same thing by the parasitic elite that run the show. They control the narrative, whether it's in the archaeology, whether it's in the wars, it's all just staged and fake propaganda. When you deprive a people of their true history, their true knowledge, their true capabilities, and their understanding of their past and their origins, they become that much easier to control and manipulate. And that is the main game, the main motive behind all of this, guys. Whether, one of the biggest questions I get asked, what's the point of them lying about X? X could be anything from giants to the mud flood to Tartaria to the shape and nature of our realm. Everybody always asks the same, what's the point of lying to us about it? It's not just one thing. It's an immense amount of, it's everything. And it all boils down to control. Those who control the history control the world. And those who are controlling the history are the victors. And they rewrote it to their own satisfaction. Let's take a couple more of you guys' questions here. You guys have been asking a lot of them. Alice, she said, lies, lies, lies. That's all they do is lie to us. Absolutely. They've done it from birth, since elementary school. Told us one of the first things they instilled to us in elementary school is space, the moon landing, dinosaurs. Like, they were drilled into our heads from an early age, and they were their biggest lies. Every single thing, from the stuff we learned in school, from the things they tell us on our news, it's all lies. It's all about control. Whether it's to drive a narrative or to go to war with another country, like, and it's never going to be their kids going to war with them. And it's the problem with this whole new war. It's, oh, just a quick regime change, right? We've seen it time and time again. It's going to be another 10, 20-year war. Lori said, I'm glad at least some of us are awake to the deception. I just wish we could make everyone see. It is a gift and curse being awake, isn't it, guys? You're absolutely right there, Lori. I wish everyone could see. I mean, it's so obvious to us, so obvious to many of us. Once you wake up and you see it, it's just so clear as day. But it's crazy how many people are still just blissfully unaware of it, just walking around in just sheer bliss. Ignorance is bliss. It's an old saying for a reason. All these old sayings are old sayings for a reason. I mean, that is what they want us. That is the whole nature of this narrative. They craft a false history. They craft a false present. They preach of a false future. They manipulate history. They poison us with our foods, with all of our processed chemical foods. And then they sell us pharmaceuticals, addictive pharmaceuticals made by petroleum based products to not only make our health even further degraded, but make us hopelessly addicted to their cures, which they're not even cures, they're just band-aids for the symptoms that the poisons in our foods, the poisons in our environments cause. I don't know if you guys have noticed the odd smells in the air. Like I've talked about a couple weeks ago how it smelled like straight doo-doo in the skies. It's starting to smell like that again, and tons of streaks of in the sky as well, completely hazing up the sky, and it's got a weird chemically added smell to that at that. They're spraying our skies, they're poisoning our waters, they're poisoning our foods. The stuff in the supermarket 100 years ago, 95% of it is would be unrecognizable and not in our grocery stores today. Coincidentally enough, 90% of our gut cancers, colon cancers, stuff like that, have increased since that 100 years. The old world knew how to eat. They knew their foods were natural. I have a loaf of bread that went bad in December. It is now March. I could take that loaf of bread out and it would be unrecognizable that it was anything from a fresh loaf you bought at the store. It's got no mold on it. It's not dried. It's spongy. It looks brand new, but it expired in December. Bread used to never do that. When I was growing up, that wasn't the case. Get a loaf of bread at the store, it would get moldy a couple weeks after you bought it. All of the foods that we have now, they are artificially preserved, filled with chemicals, filled with goodness only knows what. And it's all by these same parasitic elites that run our history, that run our news medias. And they want a globalist, secularist agenda. They want us combined into these population zones. They want to get rid of the rural areas. They want to get rid of people's independence. And that's how they do this. It's a coordinated effort through everything from, you know, the nuke hoax. So much people that grew up in the 80s and stuff, during the Cold War, they knew all about that. You'd have to hide under your desk at school during the nuclear bomb drills. Like hiding under your desk would save you from a nuclear bomb. It wouldn't save you from a nuclear bomb. We all know that, but it was all about scaring us at a very young age. Or you said Saturn worshipping humans, eating sickening monsters. Yes, Saturn worship. I have an episode planned here for the next couple weeks about Saturn. and how they all seem to, all the elites, that is, they all seem to worship Saturn. The Saturn worship is deep and very scary, very demonic, very, very deep. And they all, and it's like I said, we have been born into a war of good versus evil. Most of us have just been oblivious about it. But from that earlier question, I wish everybody would see, nobody was born into this with the ability to see through the deceptions right away, right? We all woke up at our own pace. So don't be discouraged. I truly believe, as I've told you guys before, we were born into a battle of good versus evil. It's a spiritual war. All these rabbit holes I've went down, all the research I have gone through, it all comes back to God. God is real, and that's what they want us to not believe in. But God is in control. Be not afraid, folks. Good always triumphs over evil. And this too shall pass. Lori says you have to read labels now. It's important. I use Yucca app. It helps. Yeah, I've heard of that app. I've been thinking about going to it really is. So much of the ingredients, even like some of the staples, like the name brands, the off brands taste better than the name brands now because the name brands have put so much chemicals and preservatives and stuff to cut cost and outright poison us that they taste like, I don't know, if you had a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese. I made a box the other day for my kids and it tasted almost unedible. Nothing like the Kraft macaroni we grew up on, right? The Great Value macaroni and cheese, though, that's not that much better for you. That tastes so much better than Kraft nowadays. Whatever they're putting into that, it's not cheese. It's like they're using like fish. It's like, I don't know what somebody did dive on like the actual cheese powder on those macaroni and cheese, especially like heavy in Kraft and some of the name brands. And it's not actually, very little of it is actually cheese or like milk butter. Yeah, just don't buy processed foods. That is the best course of action. That's one thing I've been slowly taking steps towards in my life. It's hard, and it's hard to participate in this day-to-day life when they have their hands in everything. Buying no processed food sounds ideal, but not everybody has those options or those the ability to do so. Start small though, guys. Take control of your health. Take control of what you eat. A big part of our health issues these days are what we eat, if not most of our health problems. And it's all caused by, as Michael said, processed foods. So much of it is caused by all the seed oils, all the stuff that they put in there that they didn't put 10, 20 years ago in there. Alice, you said you buy Winco brand foods, sometimes Whole Foods. Yeah, I've heard, Whole Foods pretty good. I've heard good things about Winco as well. Yeah, and all these physicians, all these doctors, they're all taught by the same Rockefeller education system, guys. They're all taught the same tactics of control and well, they're not even knowing that, but they've been controlled and manipulated. These doctors don't know that they're selling us poison. That's just what they were taught, and we're all so indoctrinated, the ones that didn't wake up. It goes so deep in our colleges and universities especially. And that's where, the narratives go to die, like anything that goes outside of the mainstream, like the Bosnian pyramids and stuff. They're not talked about because if you do, you're outside of the mainstream academia. And we can't have that. Okay, so I've got a couple more things here I want to show you guys. And then I'll take a couple more of your questions. We'll kind of wrap up the episode in just a little bit here. The white skies. Another alteration of the past. I just want to show you guys a few photos of those. Why do they white out the skies? It's one of the biggest questions I get asked, as well as why do they lie? Well, a big portion of why they white out the skies, I think we kind of covered in the video on the airships. They had flight a lot longer than they told us they did. They were flying around long before even the 1800s. The biggest proof of that is just to look at how perfectly detailed some of these old world maps are. I mean, they're darn near accurate. The only way you could have such perfect detail on these maps, on these coastlines and stuff, is from the air. So that is why all of these photos here, you can find easily signs of manipulation. One of the biggest ones, one of the most popular ones, is the whited out skies, the bleached out skies. And all these photos here you can find on sites like loc.gov, Library of Congress. That's one of the big sites that I use a lot. But just download them, download the max qualities, and zoom in on these structures, and you'll see how terrible of a job they do at editing it. This is one of them. I'm just going to zoom in on the interiors. Just look at that lining right there on the top of the towers, all across the cross right here, all those spires. You can see a discolorization, clear, like cut job on Photoshop, basically. Whatever version or program they were using. You got to understand, like places like the Library of Congress, they're just like the Vatican, they're just like Smithsonian. The Library of Congress has millions and millions and millions of photos and videos and documents and articles from the past that most of it, a large majority of it, have never been seen by the public and never will. They're all just these systems in place that just collect all of this actual old world information, and you can get like bits and pieces of it released. But these sites like the government centers like the Library of Congress and stuff, their whole job is to alter and fabricate their narrative of history. And what they release is in the digitization and rewriting of our history. Like I said, they're doing it minute by minute, day by day. They're releasing these altered skies to hide whatever was in the sky flying, airships or whatever. It was a lot more than just airships. Another video I'll talk about is ancient flight. This is State House in Florida in the 1800s. Again, you can see all across the sides of the building. That's usually one of the best areas you can find alterations in these skies. You can also see it kind of here in the tree line as well. Just a different color from where they cut out the sky and where the tree is. Trees, buildings with that beautiful antiquitech technology, that beautiful patterns on the top that are really hard to kind of cut and paste cleanly. Yeah, those are where you're really going to see it at. You see all on the towers, just that weird, like, shadowy hue. That's the natural photo being cut right out. Okay. Here's another one. This is Wayne County building, the Detroit, Michigan County building. And let's see if you guys see anything odd on it. This I got directly from the Library of Congress as well, if you guys want to know. Let's zoom in. Well, look at this, guys. Just a whole part of the building, a whole part of the sky right here, just completely chopped out. Utility pole right above where this man's head is. And you can see it really clearly in the trees right here, that whole different shading. This was a really bad chop shop. You can see all the bad lines here on the Antiquitech along the top of the quote-unquote county building. Whatever this old world palace was repurposed for the government of control. Yeah, just look at all along that lining. It's terrible. It's terribly obvious when you start knowing what to look for. That's what I hope to show you guys. You know, my sources, like places like the Library of Congress, you can find these photos. Everybody asks, where do I get these photos at? You can find them just like I do. Just browse around places like the Library of Congress. Go to digital archives on I like to use Boston or Baltimore Libraries, digital archives, New York Public Libraries, digital archives. Tons of old world photos, tons of them altered and manipulated. You just gotta know what to look for. Okay, let's see here. It's another one. Just really bad job. And I believe they did this because I don't think anyone like thought we would really take this much interest to looking this closely at these old buildings. A lot of them were just made to be slapped into some textbooks, barely looked at, and never taken a second glance at. But with opened eyes and open minds, you see this world and the old world in a whole different light, right? And that's why we're finding so much evidence just right on the surface. Because to most surface level thinking people, they would not even take a second glance at this photo, right? They're just say, oh, it's just some old building in some old city. What's the deal? It's a marshmallow tree, Scott says. Yes, that's right. The fabled marshmallow trees. Oh, yes, yes. I forgot all about those, Scott. You are right. I got a couple more marshmallow trees to show you guys here too then. But obviously, you guys can see the altering of this photo right here. These bad angles. Let's show a couple more here. That's kind of a zoomed up of that courthouse. Here's another one of those marshmallow trees for us, Scott. This is the Herbivora building and zoo in Cincinnati. And just look at those marshmallow trees. Completely just cut out. Very clear sky editing in that one. Try and zoom out for you. That's in Cincinnati. Here's a photo. Looks like a normal work site photo at first, right? Until you start looking at the backgrounds, the white skies, and you realize that these guys are just cut right out. You can just see it. It's like a toddler using a pair of scissors. Go right around the line. And you can see the difference between where they didn't cut out the sky. Right here, you can see the backdrop, the gray sky. And here it's just completely whited out, chopped out there. Yep. Zoom in there, you can see the bad corners that they just cut out. There's actually people's feet right here, if you see. Those are actual people's feet right there that they just cut out their whole entire top halves of their body. So this is not camera exposure. This is not long exposure, overexposure, whatever is why we don't see the skies as they like to parrot and tell us. Unless long exposure cuts out people's entire top half. Another part of that photo. You see the whole cutout right there. Here is some more of those marshmallow trees. This is from the Civil War. I'm working on a video segment, maybe a two-parter here on the Civil War, because all of the Civil War's photos are just staged. They had actual cameramen come and follow battalions of troops along with them, but they never actually photoed any of the battlefields. They staged all these photos during an active campaign. They would stage photos like this for the camera. But we'll go into that in the actual Civil War episode I'm working on, maybe next week here. But look at these marshmallow trees, Scott. They are just clear as day, cutting out the sky very poorly as well, if I do say so. Here's another old plating of the Notre Dame. You can see they just cut all along the sides of that there too as well. Back to that one. Okay, so very much so. Everything is staged. I mean, the photos that they give us now are staged, photoshopped, AI'd. And they've had that technology way longer than they've told us. Now the Library of Congress is a part of the felony document fraud. I haven't heard about that specifics, Donald. That's interesting. Library of Congress has tons of rich history in fraud. Absolutely. I'm not surprised. Yes, I'm going to use that, Scott. I think marshmallow trees are indeed going to be a thing. Yes, I agree with that as well. All right, folks, let's take a couple more of your questions here. I'm going to scroll through chat real quick. If I missed any of your guys' super chats or anything like that, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to do a new system with that because I thought Riverside sent most of my chats through, but it turns out they don't. That's okay, though, guys. I will get to them all, and I'll try and thank you guys all individually later. If I missed any, King, I know yours. King, Alice, I seen your guys' earliers come through. Thank you guys again so much. Let me see here. So, Philip27 here on YouTube says, so do I think nukes are fake? What did they use for Nagasaki and Hiroshima? Yeah, I do Phil think nukes are indeed fake, and we'll go into a deeper dive episode on that. This episode's just kind of been showing you guys key examples from all the way back in ancient Egypt, excavation sites, all the way up to present day, and just kind of an overview of all the stuff, the staged things that they're doing with our history, whiting out the skies, bombing historical sites that have no military significance. It's an ongoing effort. Iran has so much historical artifacts, places of ancient historical significance, and now it's is another military campaign, an unnecessary military campaign. Much like Iraq. Iraq had so much ancient artifacts, old world structures that were destroyed in Operation Iraqi Freedom in the 2000s. That's where they said they found the remains of Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh's tomb, and where they also claim to have found a star portal, or a portal. We talked about those portals, the Hopis and the Grand Canyon, a couple of the other portals. They claim to have found a portal in Iraq. I mean, all of these wars are cover-ups and grabs for ancient technologies, old world technologies that were buried and then unearthed, or bottom line resources. They love to charge as a premium for the oil. They want to have all the oil monopoly. Very, very much so. What do I think about Operation Fishbowl? Yeah. So, Sean, officially, Operation Fishbowl is where they launched a bunch of nukes into the sky for whatever reason to test them, the Russians and America. And I think, they probably tested something. They tested some explosive ordinances. Some people say Operation Fishbowl was to try and find ways to blast out of this supposed dome we live in. A lot of interesting points about that, but I think they were testing out some kind of explosive ordinances. I mean, we have very big bombs, don't get me wrong. Bombs that can lay things out. But nuclear bombs like the ones that they try and fearmonger us with, I don't believe we have. Definitely do have some big explosive ordinances. I believe that's what they were using in Operation Fishbowl. Great point, Sean. Yes, Lori. Don't forget to like the live stream. Yes, guys, like the stream if you guys can. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. I appreciate that. Very, very much so. That is the biggest thing, one of the biggest things you guys can do to help support this page. I'll never ask you guys support a product I don't ultimately believe in myself. I got dozens and dozens of offers for brands, from everything from like robot vacuums. Literally, people want me to push robot vacuums on you guys, to tax return services, but I turn them all down. I mean, I'm never going to, like, just this isn't about money for me here. It's about waking you up, spreading the word, growing a community. That's how we weather this storm. That's how we wake people up. It's not going to be with a push. It's going to be with a soft nudge. And that's what you guys do. You guys find all this information. You guys work on, your family and your friends and your relatives softly. That's how we wake them up. Don't try and push them too hard. It's important. The nuke wasn't as powerful as they claim. VVO says no. And I mean, neither with the radiation, the fallout, or anything like that. And they want to use it as a way of fear mongering us, as a way to justify invasions. I mean, Iraq had weapons of mass destruction and nukes. We had to go in there. They didn't. Oops, that was a lie. Iran wants to build nukes, wants to test nukes, and are trying to build nukes, so we have to go in there and bomb them, and that'll be a lie. Of course, just wait and see. But it keeps us huddled under our proverbial school desk, just like we were taught during the Cold War. The Russians were going to level us and lay us out in any minute, and they're saying the same thing about us. It's just all a form of control and manipulation. It's in everything they do for us. Lori, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Lori. Appreciate you, all you guys that are watching and listening live. The podcast is growing more and more every episode, far more than I thought it would be. In just a little over a month and a half or so, we've hit quite a lot of great numbers. If you guys want to support all my other pages as well, check out my link tree. The links are in the bio for that. If you want to get a hold of me, if you guys have any submissions, any thoughts or suggestions for the show, you can hit me up in my email address there. I'm theimprobabledreamer@gmail.com. I try and get to all of them. I do have a lot of messages and a lot of things outside of the program and outside of my shows that I do. I'm a busy folk, but I try and get to as much of them as I can, and I do love chatting with you guys outside of the show. Also, Discord is a great place to chat before and after the show. If you want to be a part of the program, that's where you can do that as well. Submit your photos, submit your evidence. If you want to call into the show, you can do that there also. So tomorrow's show, we're going to expand this a little bit about the whole manipulation of our history, and how we're going to expand this into how they're dulling our senses, how they're keeping us intentionally in a lower vibration, a lower frequency, a lower state of mind. It's not just the chemicals, it's not just the medicines that are doing that for us, it's the environments around us. So we're going to be going into that, and how what we see and what we feel is making a big difference in the way they fight this game of control to us. And then, of course, we have Open Lines Friday. If you want to be a part of the show, that's a great place to do that. I have a couple people that I'm thinking might be guests on either this week's or next week's show. We have our live Q&A coming up with Flat Earth Dave on the 19th, I believe it is. So get your questions ready for that segment. That will be a great one. And some of you folks in the chat, if you guys want to be a part of the team, want to help out, if you guys want to volunteer to be moderators in any of the chats or whatever, just let me know. I'm a one-man band here myself. I kind of do it all, the moderating, the editing, the social media managing side of things. So if any of you guys want to be moderators in some of these live chats, I would love to have you guys. Just let me know on either Discord or send me a message. We'll see about making that happen. All right, guys. That is what I have for you tonight. We went over everything of our manipulated history, the poisoning, the rewriting, the altering. Then it's been going on for a lot longer than you think. We'll talk more about this on Thursday's show. Until then, question everything, friends. Until next time. Have a great evening, and thanks for tuning in live.